Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Nations, hosted by the UKEL. I am Luna. I will be your host for today, and I'm joined by a wonderful analyst desk of Pide and Rob. How are you guys doing today?
All good. Came straight from work doing this. I mean, couldn't be better.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day. We've got a number of really important games today, actually, and ones that, although the standings we seem to be getting a bit of top, middle, and bottom. I think these games today could potentially shake that up.
Absolutely could. Now, of course, today is the first day we are having games on the newest patch, and there's been a couple of changes that could make an impact on what we see in the games going forwards. Would you guys like to kick us off with that?
I mean, Rob, you had a lot to say in the green room. Green room.
So there's a few changes, right? Wukong got a little bit of a nerf, and obviously everyone knows they called him, believe, the king of the jungle on the patch notes. He is very, very strong, so we could see people kind of go away from that a little bit. It wasn't a massive nerf; it was like 5% on his attack speed on his E, but still, maybe. Skarner got nerfed. Probably doesn't change how Skarner wants to be played. Viego got nerfed, or got, I can't remember if nerfed. I have to remember that he got changed. Whatever, people pick him if they want to in the UKL. But the big one is Swain got changed pretty significantly. That champion, although people say it wasn't great, is pretty decent into a number of picks. So you could see him being picked up. A number of mid laners do have a favor of the Swain, especially the tankier builds with like the Fimble Winter builds. And then obviously the domination keystones were changed, and 20%, 20 damage base on electrocute. It's a pretty solid buff from 50 to 70 damage at level 1. The big one I'm looking at personally, because we have him playing in Div.2, Kerberos, the Cho'Gath, the Halo Blades buff. It's pretty significant. 30% attack speed for melees and a cooldown reduction from 12 to 10 seconds is massive for that. I don't know why we haven't seen people play it. If anyone has played this Cho'Gath, this Souls Shirelli's Cho'Gath, it's completely broken. It's so easy to play in mid lane. Nothing can force it out. So I'm surprised we haven't seen someone pick it up, like a lower ranked team pick it up into a mid lane and they're more comfortable in. This buff is massive. This buff is huge. I want to see Cho'Gath. Show me Cho'Gath. Behold, he's played it in jungle. Where are the laners? Step up.
Yeah, and then we also have to talk a bit about the dragons. Cloud Soul got the nerf, and when we look at the competitive scene of League of Legends, Cloud Soul has been the strongest soul for very long. In solo queue, nobody really appreciated it, but it's a 5% nerf to that. Chemtech also got a buff, so hopefully we can see a bit of change how much we want to go for the Drakes.
We will see indeed. Now, for our first game of the day, we have Venom Crest going up against Belfast Storm. And this really is going to be a storm of a game if we can see the upset come through for Belfast. But I don't think it's unfair to say that this would be a huge upset. Venom Crest are looking top of the board at the moment, completely running across their competition. And before we get into rosters, let's take a quick I have a quick chat about kind of why this matchup is so important for Belfast.
Let's say you want to take it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We have Belfast right now on the 4th position, or 3rd, we can say, because they share the same 3 wins, 2 losses, together with 200 Bandits and Paragon. So they're still fighting to make the top 3, or at least be the only top on the 3rd position. Meanwhile, we have Venom Crest 5-0. It's only them and Broad and Friends who's undefeated right now. So Venom Crest just want to secure these playoffs. As well for Belfast, they want to make sure that they, at least the last 3 weeks, can be comfortable while they play.
Yeah, that pretty much hits the nail on the head, in fact. Now, I will just double check that rosters are available, because I believe we should have the Venom Crest roster first.
Okay.
Rob, if you want to take us away with this one.
And it's updated, so I don't have to. We'd have to say who is this. Yeah. So today, I mean, we were seeing Fraser and Snecker. This is the main roster for Venom Crest going forward. They had Chimera in jungle before. They had Sniller. He's got off to Prime League, I believe, or Prime League Div 2. This is now still clearly the best roster in the league if you took it on paper. Bust champion with Lions Creed Academy in the past. Air coming from, I believe it was LVP Div 2. Snecker coming, or at least having played in NLC Div 1 and LVP Div 1 in the Spanish league. So they've got so much talent here. But what I want to highlight here, even though I've already said, Rhythm has had an absolutely monstrous split so far. Ridiculous. Pentakill on the first day. But the performance coming in, not making a UKL debut or anything, but Rhythm coming in as a mainstay on this Venom Crest roster, he is the carry for them going forward.
Yeah, definitely has been the ride or die for Venom Crest. And is definitely making a name for himself as one of, if not the best AD carry and player within the UKEL this split. But we can talk about this roster all we want. It's their opponents that we should talk about next. Belfast Storm roster. Peter, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Well, we have Synapse on top side, Lims in mid lane, the Loss in the jungle, Oppression on the AD carry, on Sundax on the support. We talked a bit in the green room about this. They have a strong team, but as we just talked about, Venom Crest have shown so much stronger so far this season. So this is a shot for these players to really show themselves, to make some highlights, and hopefully take some points.
Most certainly is. And a lot of these players, not unknown names either. Synapse, Limsey, Dunlosey, all been around for a long, long while. Limsey been with Belfast Storm since their re-entry into the Four Nations as well, if memory serves. So definitely looking to take the organization to new heights in this first split of the year. Now, we've seen the players, we've seen the rosters. The next question that comes logically is, what are we expecting out of this game? How do these teams play, and what are we expecting the matchup to be against? Rob, kick us off.
So it's really difficult, right, to come in and today and not say Venom Crest is the favorite and has looked absolutely phenomenal. I think it would be unfair to, if there was an upset, to not paint this as being very Venom Crest favored. They've come in, they've played a number of different styles. Rhythm has played the Jinx and been a hyper carry. He's played Jin, been a supportive carry, and then got a pentakill. So they've played a number of different styles. They can play carries in Bust, although he is very proficient at the tanks that we see at the moment, especially as Cassante is excellent. In jungle, Phrase coming in only recently, but plays the Wukong, plays the Java, and I believe I've seen him play Insomnia, for example. He plays a number of different champions. He is not simply a one-trick pony in any kind of sense. Mid lane Air, lots of experience, played the Victor. It's just they have so many different styles. Belfast, they like to play very standard. Tanks top, usually for Synapse. We say the Udyr, but he's been preferring the Cassante recently, so that could be a pick to look out for here. And then on the other side, we've got like John Lossy plays very, Wukong will play the Jarvan and has a Lilia, but mostly plays these kind of supportive junglers. Limsey is mages, and then Protection has played a Vayne, but most of the time the Corki, these kinds of they play super standard, super meta. And I have questions today whether that's enough to beat Venom Crest.
I just want to bring out that Don Lossia played a lot of Rek'Sai lately and Pantheon. It's usually not something that we see, but if we look at the stats, how it went for him in solo queue, it's been going very well for him.
Yeah, Dunlosey always been a fan of the weird and the wonderful in the jungle. Don't ask Doctor his thoughts on Dunlosey, you'll be here for hours. That being said, let's hone in a little bit onto Belfast Storm and Dunlosey at the head of the charge with that team. We'll be heading into draft here shortly. Is there anything that you think Belfast Storm could do or not do to throw Venom Crest for a loop and allow themselves the best chance at taking a lead in the early stages of the game going into this game against the favorites that are Venom Crest?
Which side are they on? Which side is Belfast? I forgot to remember. Check the side select.
Check. Give me just 1 second. Now, the side select for this game, we could not get a 1v1 going, unfortunately, and so Venom Crest did get side select by default. They chose blue side.
Okay. I think you, as Belfast Storm, I think you're going to have to go towards some very interesting picks here. Cassante is probably going to be very high pro in this draft. If it isn't first picked, unironically, by Venom Crest, I would say take that as soon as you can. Red side is very difficult to draft on at the moment if you're against a competent team that can play the Skarner, so go towards a Lilia maybe, look towards maybe getting Dunlossie, some of these champs that he's maybe played in the past that are okay on current patch. And then in terms of bot side, maybe you can look to, you have to really match Rhythm and Seneca here, and that's going to be very, very difficult. Sundax has a good Bard, possibly, so if you let them have two immobile carries, go for the Bard. I just want to see some wildcard picks, because I think playing standards against a team that has so much experience is so difficult.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I want to see the unorthodox picks, a little bit that FlyQuest did in Worlds. When the Asians teams played so well, and all of a sudden they come in, they take picks that they haven't really played in a while, and they don't know how to play against it. I think this is how Belfast has to do it against Venom Crest. Take some picks that they don't not used to, maybe they haven't even seen you play it, and just surprise them.
Yeah, I would definitely wager that is a solid way to come back forwards and give yourselves the best start possible to a game against a Titan like Venom Crest. That being said, Venom Crest looking to attain that 6-0 and really secure themselves the best position possible heading into playoffs. How do we expect to see them set themselves up for this? Of course, they're on blue side, so Skarner already been mentioned as one of these champions that you kind of have to ban away on the red side. What do we think is going to be the first couple of steps in draft if that Skarner is taken away? And how do we think Venom Crest are going to move playing into a team like Belfast that we know likes the standard game of League of Legends?
I think Venom Crest could pick not anything they wanted. I don't think they could do Ultimate Bravery, but I think that
No.
I think that they go into this with the advantage of the flexibility they have. I think in jungle you could look for like a first pick ADC, for example. I'm assuming Scar's taking on the board. Yes, he got nerfed. I still think he is very frustrating and annoying. I would be surprised if teams still let him through even with the nerf, just because of how Skarner plays. Just Skarner ult alone is very frustrating. So I imagine that's gone. Could look towards getting, there's a Varus possibility. Jinx is another really great possibility here. I believe Protection likes a Jinx, so maybe looking to take that away if you are a Venom Crest. That gives Rhythm a lot of power within a game. Then you can look toward, I would probably go like ADC first pick if the best jungler in the game is off the table, possibly a Wukong first pick as well. Look towards securing solid solo lane, maybe a Victor, Syndra. Mel is not allowed, and I think that champ's pretty good. Mel's pretty good. Watch out when she comes into the league. But there's gonna be probably a solid mage mid laner. Top is my biggest question here because if the Cassante is taken off the board, I don't really know. Bust Cassante is so phenomenal. I wonder what he has into that pick. And I imagine it could be like an Aatrox, but he has so many champs he can play. He was a Camille OTP for a long time. That could also show up, although I don't think it's that strong at the moment.
No. And lately, Signups have played a lot of Mbessa on top side.
Yeah, look at Bwipo's notes. Go on. You said about FlyQuest. Look at Bwipo's tweet recently about what's strong in the meta. Mbessa, Jace, Cassante. And then the next tier list is like Poppy is there, Renekton is there into Ambessa, and then you have like a bunch of strange picks because it's where he says that. But these are the kind of picks we're expecting, right? We're expecting very standard top laners. I'm not too sure if Bust has has he played Jace? I'm trying to remember.
Not too much.
I don't think he's played a lot of Jace.
So, no.
This even with the nerfs, this champ is still fine in top. Still does what it wants to do. So it will be a little bit weaker, but maybe they could look for that. I think Synapse could play anything. I'm pretty sure he played like LeBlanc top when it was strong in the past, so plays everything. But I imagine there's going to be something there that he's got cooking up if the Cassante does get first pick to taken by Venom Crest. So I think Venom Crest have so many things on the table. I'm just waiting to see where the bans come through because that is really where we're going to get the meat.
Yeah, because there's a lot of players that share the same shampoo, so the bans are just going to change everything. But Bust right now, we're talking about Casante's played a lot from him. But Gnar and Aurora, we looked up his solo queue before. It was like 80% of his solo queue games have been range champions on the top side. So might see that come out. And from signups, the only champion that you're not used to see is probably Udyr.
Yeah.
Synapse Udyr has been banned pretty much every game against him. You don't give that player that champion. It's just not fair. That being said, we talked about the Skarner as first pick opportunity. There are a lot of other champions in the meta currently that are still very first pickable, especially because they are very flexible. Things like the Maokai has seen a little bit of a rise again. The Victor was nerfed last patch, I believe, but is still pretty damn strong. You've got Corki, who can, of course, like that Victor, hop between top and mid. The Hui can do the same. Do we think we see a trade of these power picks across sides, or do you think the Skarner is just gone, and then you kind of run with anything that isn't the power picks?
I expect Skarner to go pretty first ban, because there's no team want to take the risk of not getting him. So just banning him out is the most easy part. But otherwise, Corki, Viego, I have seen both of these teams really want to play these two champions, so we might see a bit of a contest between those.
I'm still going to say I'm just going to put Jinx out here for multitude of reasons. With the being on blue side, one, this champion still could fit into a number of drafts, but you do want to obviously kind of build around it. Two, you have the best ADC. Well, maybe there's a bit personal bias, but you have Rhythm on ADC, who's been exceptional. And the big thing that's just come to mind, and I always forget this at the beginning of a broadcast, and it dawns on me like a prophetic vision. Venom Crest lane swap. Venom Crest know how to lane swap. They're all experienced players, and they've lane swapped so far in the league before. You know, we're at a level where some teams they don't have the time. There are certain intricacies to certain lane swaps. You can have a few different variations on them. Venom Crest are all experienced players. They know how to play a lane swap, and so you can kind of sit there and take an ADC in a matchup. You could just blind a Jinx, for example, and just go, okay, well, if you decide to try and lane counter it and then lane counter a top laner, we'll just lane swap. And are Belfast experienced in that? They have they have coaching staff, but are they actually experienced in facing a good team in a lane swap?
We will find out as we head on into draft. Not sure if we're able to get into it this second or if it'll be in the next couple of seconds, but we will be there very, very shortly. There we go. And the first couple of bans have come through. Maokai and Victor both gone. I'm a prophet today, it would seem. We'll see what the rest of the bans play out to be. We'll see how the draft kicks itself off.
We talked about it. Maokai, the flexible champion. Victor got the nerfs, but needs a few more, if you ask me. And the Corki ban, Jinx ban. It feels like we're on track today.
Yeah. These are all very, proficient picks, not just in the meta, but in the UKL, right? That's the big thing. In the UK scene, you have some of these picks that are seen as being premier picks here. I'm interested to see if the Udyr does get banned. Obviously, we're saying that. He didn't seem to have preference for it when it was left open against him in previous games so far this split Synapse, which is interesting, right? Like, both me and Luna would say this. Me and Luna would say, well, the Udyr, of course, but he hasn't really shown that. And Skarner is left open. And even with the nerfs, I'm sure Venom Crest will be happy to pick this. They might be questioning, but I feel like you just lock it in.
Yeah, just throwing themselves at him. First pick should be there. I mean, we all played against Skarner. I don't know.
What a shock.
K'Sante is the same thing. They're tanky, they have damage, they never die. I mean, such strong champions.
Hold the phone. That's a Senna.
Interesting. I wonder what their choice is going to be here for the pairing. There's a large number of them available. You've got stuff like Cho'Gath is an option. Cho'Gath is an option. That's a possibility. You've also got stuff like Seraphine, not necessarily expected. Aurora, you were saying, Peter, you were saying about Solo Q. He's locking in the Aurora. People usually take the Gnar, right? They really have preference for the Gnar, but Aurora also destroys K'Sante. So this makes a lot of sense. This is lining up to be a very last split draft where you end up with the Aurora top, the Skarner jungle. You end up with some sort of ADC, so sort of physical damage carry mid laner, a supportive ADC like a Jhin or an Ashe, and then that kind of thing for Venom Crest seems to be where they want to go. On the other side, the Senna though, what is pairing with it? Tahm Kench? Are we going to go Set? Are we going to go? I mean, there's anything still available here. You can go pretty much any champ. Tahm Kench,
pretty quick and easy there.
Is an interesting one. Champ's quite strong in bot lane. It does sort of stack check, but I'm not too sure you're really saving any. Like Tahm Kench here, you're not really doing exactly what Tahm Kench wants to do. You're not really saving anyone.
No, and for now, they're lacking a bit of early damage, so the last two picks need to bring some more damage for the early game. Otherwise, against Venom Crest, as we mentioned, it's a great team. They have the experience. To not have any damage in the early game could be very punishable.
Yeah. I'm just wondering where they want to go here. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I'm just like, yeah. Sorry, Luna, go ahead. This is just a very interesting choice of Tahm Kench in a spot I wouldn't usually pick Tahm Kench myself.
Looking across second rotation of bans, Karma, Yone, Orianna, and potentially Azir going to be taken off of the table. So the mid lane champion pool really pinched here in this second phase, which does make sense. You know, you've got your top lane locked in. You know, you've got this bot lane locked in. Doesn't really make sense to pinch the jungle pool with Skarner picked on one side and Dunlosey having a bit of an ocean. So take away some of these mid picks, really start to push Limsey into this awkward situation. Is the Xin Zhao hover for now, and this is something we know Dunlosey is preferential to.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it in this situation. I just think like it just seems to me. I'm just thinking about what you're putting in mid here. It's probably like a Syndra, right?
Syndra is enabled again today. So
Syndra
yes,
is enabled, so it's like I'm just thinking what Belfast Storm's mid lane pick's going to be, because you're leaving it for last pick here. So if say Venom Crest take it, which is unlikely, you know, they kind of want some physical damage, but it's possible. Or they take something like an Akali or something. They're actually just going to take Smolder, which is crazy. That's
But Air played a lot of Smolder. It's Victor Smolder. It's like 50-50 right
really
now.
that's really throwing a
And
gauntlet.
Rakan.
Yeah, that's really throwing a gauntlet down to Limsey, because Smolder is not something that usually you see as a blind picked mid ever. Really, usually they take it into like a Corki, you'd have taken the pass into the Yone or the Ari, right? So where is Limsey going to go here? Because I think this is where Belfast could come up with something really phenomenal. I'm just trying to think. Syndra's the one I would probably go for.
We know Limsey
I
is
also
also
want to say Syndra.
partial to assassins.
Mm.
Has quite enjoyed the Zed and the Akali in the past as well, albeit not to the same level as the Azir. The Syndra is hovered, will just be grabbed up for Limsey in that mid lane. So looking across the two drafts, we have Aurora top lane, Skarner jungle, Smolder mid, Ezreal, Rakan bot lane for Venom Crest. Could also be the Smolder top and Aurora mid, so I'm not going to make any calls on that as of right now. Of course, Smolder into Cassante will have a much easier time than Smolder into Syndra. And on the flip side, it's Cassante, Zinzao, Syndra, Tahm Kench, Senna. Not sure which player is going to be playing which for the side of the Storm in that bot lane. Time will tell. Never know. Sundax could be the greatest Senna player we've ever seen. What are your feelings coming off the back of this draft, guys? We'll start with you, Peter.
I'm leaning very heavy to Venom Crest. I prefer quick damage. You want the champions that can one shot in the team fights as of the meta feels right now, because you can go for the late game, but then you usually get the 45 minutes game, and a lot is playing early game right now. And Venom Crest has a lot of damage early game already, as well as they have the scaling in their team, especially with the Smolder coming out. Belfast on the other side, they have their DPS over time, and they only have Syndra for his quick damage to get the pick. But at the same time, we have a Rakan and Venom Crest. There's a Skarner. There's so much to get a pick on Syndra, so kind of have to play that perfect.
Yeah, I don't like. I know it sounds strange. I'm a big TK fan. I love playing Tahm Kench, mostly in top lane, but I love playing this champ. I don't really want to be playing TK this game. That's what I'm feeling. I think that it's an odd when you look at what's left on Venom Crest here. Imagine team fights going down. Aurora ult, so a Rakan doesn't have to be primary engaged. Rakan loves being secondary engaged, right? So Aurora ult, and then Rakan on top of that. Hard for Tahm Kench to save the right targets. Then you've got to look at it like how is like Syndra Zinzao pivot like playing in each fight when they're locked in. Obviously, Aurora doesn't lock you in anymore, but still, it still slows you significantly. Skarner on top of that. Belfast have a chance here of getting some early leads, to be fair. You obviously can look in mid lane here, whether it's the Smolder or the Aurora, you can look off the Syndra stun, get a Zinzao knock up, get a kill. But I just worry about Cassante into whatever he faces top, sort of falling behind, and then the Senna Tahm Kench into an Ezreal Rakan. You're not really punishing the Ezreal that much if the Rakan decides to roam. And you imagine Venom Crest, let's say you 3-man mid into 3-man mid into 3-man mid again, and the Syndra's out of the game. You lose so much damage as Belfast Storm if that goes down. They need to be protecting their mid laner here massively, because Skarner, strange gank angles, Rakan sector engage, very, very scary.
Yep, certainly is. That being said, is there anything that we want to hone in on before I get your predictions? Is there anything in particular you really want to touch on heading into this game? Any small win avenue? Any particularly strong showing from a player that you think could break this game open, or do we think it's going to be very bog standard?
Just mid jungle for Belfast, the way you win this game.
That should be front mid.
Yeah, I want to give. I was saying about if Belfast win a game, let's not downplay how good Venom Crest are, because that is almost unfair to if Belfast Storm pick up an upset. And I think if it comes this game, it will come through mid and jungle. There's a possibility that Silent Sprinter, solo kills bust 10 times. There's always a chance for a Cassante moment. There's always a chance for maybe them not knowing about TK damage and him going through. But in a consistent game, I think Belfast mid jungle are their path to victory here. Dunlossie can have very good games and have very good early games. We have seen even in, I've sometimes viewed the way he jungles sometimes as being a little bit, sacrificing himself too much for his lanes, often hovers around bot, for example, for a very long time. But if in a game here, if he plays around mids, there's a good chance you get a fed enough Zinzao. No enchanter to buff him, but a Zinzao into these, look at Ezreal Smolder, Zinzao really denies a lot of their damage. So a fed Zinzao, fed Syndra give you a chance here as Belfast Storm. But again, Venom Crests, they have a very solid team fight comp, so you have to keep your foot on the gas. You can't let Smolder get to stacks. It's going to be have to sort of be a very quick snowball from Belfast Storm and a very clean macro game.
Yeah, and Belfast really need to stay aggressive in the team fights. Like if they commit, they really need to commit to it, because right now we have the Skarner as the front line. Otherwise, we have Aurora, Ezreal, and Smolder. They have the mobility, but if you get your hands on them, they're pretty easy to kill. So Rakan is also going to have a huge responsibility to not have anyone from Belfast coming into the backline.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, in 5 words or less, who is your prediction to win and why?
Venom Crest, damage. I like.
Venom Crest, good. Rhythm, there you go. The is one of the words. I actually said it in 4 words, in fact. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to, right? It's really hard not to say Venom Crest. You look at their standings and you look at how they play, and you don't see any team coming close. It's Belfast. If Belfast last 20 minutes, they're the second best team to face, or they're the best team to Venom Crest will have faced. If they last 20 minutes, it's you like I'm in a boxing match against, I don't know, Tyson Fury or something. Like if I survive 10 minutes, it's incredible. It's absolutely insane. It's that level of domination that Venom Crest have shown.
So here on the desk we have a two votes for Venom Crest. I am going to abstain as the host. It would be unpleasant of me to show bias to one side or the other. I believe Belfast Storm. I believe you can do this. That being said, you know what we've had to say. You've heard us ramble for a while now. Let's throw it over to our wonderful casters, Drake and Harold, and see what they have to say about this game.
Hello, guys. It's me, Drake, joined by Harold, and thank you, Luna, for tossing that over to us. I think, as you said earlier, and branching off of a few of the points that Rob did make, Belfast will have to take this game by storm if they want to win based off of that draft. How you feeling, Harold?
I'm feeling good, happy to be back on broadcast again. Really happy to be on again. New partner, new caster, new everything. I have some words for this draft. I think my casting buddy here, Drake, has heard me ramble about what just happened a lot. I think there is a burden of execution, especially like on the low C, that is gigantic, because there is no damage on the rest of the comp until you hit that 2-item mark. Basically, you want that Syndra to have the stacks. You want that Senna to have the stacks. You want the Kenj to have reached that 1 or 2 item window. You want that Cassandra to have that level 11, that 2 items that the Iceborne got completed, so he can take those prolonged fights with the chase down. There is so much time needed on the side of Belfast Storm that I think if Venom Crest play around their early game power spiking champions like the Ezreal or the Skarner, it is going to be really, really difficult for the side of Belfast Storm to take this game. But I've seen Stranger Things, not the show. Just in League, but I think it's just I like Venom Crest comp. I think it is illegal that they got the Skarner. I think I said it last week. You let Skarner through on Blue 1, you kind of deserve to lose the game.
That's a slightly brutal way to put it, but I mean, there's so many reasons why this draft has gone horribly, in our opinions, for Belfast, right? Like you mentioned, Venom Crest have a little bit of an earlier spike, and they can capitalize on that, and that's not to mention that Smolder past 20 minutes is absolutely broken, and if the game does get to late, I mean, there's a fighting chance for champions like Syndra and Senna. But either way, Venom Crest, in my opinion, and in a few of the opinions of the desk earlier on, have a better late game team composition as well. So at almost no point in this game, Belfast have the advantage. It just has to be capitalizing on mistakes coming out of Venom Crest and somehow developing an early game lead into shutting this game out before Smolder becomes Smolder, basically.
Yeah, because as you were saying, we were talking about the early game power, because even then, like when you have an Aurora does spike around that 2-item mark when she has that that Ludens plus Shadow Flame. She is going to start one-shotting people at 2 items. But even before then, the control that the ultimate gives you, it is really oppressive to fight into. And on top of that, even if you manage to just keep it flat, you can manage to keep the game even in within a 3k gold difference. there is still a Smolar on the other side. He is going to execute people. After the buffs he got in 25.s1.2, he is still kind of one of the most disgusting champions to ever get added to League of Legends.
Yeah,
so,
to ever get graced onto the Rift.
Yeah, I just think it's an uphill mount. It was an uphill mountain before draft. After draft, I think it's just a vertical slope.
And they added the rock as well, so you have to carry the rock up the mountain as well instead of just walking up it. It's a bit
Sisyphus
difficult.
squared, I think.
But you did mention that, you know, all of this kind of the breaking point for Belfast will be whether this Xin Zhao can capitalize well enough, right? Whether Dunlosy is able to get onto the board, get stuff happening, and I think that's something that they touched on in the desk as well slightly. If they're able to focus on the mid lane, maybe get the Xin Zhao slightly ahead. You were saying there is at least a chance here for Belfast, right?
Yeah, I mean, Xin Zhao, once everything else was gone on the side of when the bans came through, with the Maokai getting banned and the the Wukong getting banned, you kind of are defaulting to either a tank, which is not great because Skarner will out tank any other tank, with the Skarner being already picked.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just forced on making a trade. You either go for an AP farming jungler and you try to just keep the tempo up with the farming, and you rely on the fact that you're gonna get to those skirmishes with an item advantage, with levels advantage. And even then, it is a toss-up because Skarner, for being a full tank, he has an absurd clear speed. I will never stop talking about how this champion is the best jungler. Still, you can nerf him, and as long as you don't change his E, with the way it works, he is still going to be the best jungler in the game.
It's kind of crazy, the parody of that as well, right? Like Skarner, the most useless champion in the game for the longest time, and now this champion is just absolutely I've seen it for a full season straight now, and I will never stop seeing it. It seems there's no way to nerf this champion enough. But I mean, yeah, that's just one champion on this roster right now, right? You also have the Aurora, you also have the Smolder, you also have the Ezreal, and the Rakan to pair with all of that. I feel like Venom Crest do have the makings of success just with the draft. Not to mention that this team is 5-0, right? Belfast Storm sitting at 3-2, I believe, so sitting tied for that second place, but it's closer to the third because if Broad and Friends or Venom Crest lose a game, then they're dropped to second. But it's kind of a make or break game for them, right? If Belfast Storm do lose, that puts them in danger of relegation. That puts them towards the lower half of the standings. And with only 3 games left for all of these teams, it gets pretty scary pretty quick, I'd have to say.
I think, the standings are unforgiving. The regular season is short. You misstep, you're gonna lose your tempo. You're gonna lose your advantage. You're going to lose that, that pep in your step. And taking on a loss now, especially at the end of week 3, considering next week is our last week of regular season, it could have the effect on a team's morale that you don't want to going into the deciding games of the split. Now, on one end, you have Venom Crest. They have looked like the absolute best team in the league, tied in the standings with Broad and Friends, which are going to have a showdown on the last day of the regular season.
Of course.
Quite poetic, I might add.
Always got to save the derby for last,
Yeah. You have to save, the best for last. You got to retain the audience, I guess. But on the other end, you got 2 Belfast Storm that look okay. They didn't look great, but they didn't look terrible. They've had their games. They've had, their ups, their downs. They've shined when it needed to. But what I feel like personally they lack is a bit of personal guile and willingness to just make the play, to just pull the trigger and just try and do something that could break open the game. Sometimes it's not going to work, and you're just going to lose the game because you were 5k ahead and you're diving into 5 people as Viego. It's not like I did that before, for sure. But at the end of the day, it is just about having that bit of X factor that brings you that that chaos component in the game that you can then capitalize on. Venom Crest kind of have it everywhere. Top lane, they've got Bust, who has been excellent all split. They've had to make a few changes. Sniller is gone, but Seneca's in. They still have Rhythm. Rhythm has been the outstanding light of the team, as the desk was saying. He's gotten pentakills. He's gotten some amazing games for especially like his first game of the split on the Jinx. I think at the end of the day, it will come down to whether you can actually break the execution pattern of Venom Crest by the side of Belfast Storm, where if you can put that spanner in the works, and you kind of have to bring it to a point where Venom Crest are not in that comfortable situation where they can just play a little bit on their wallets. But again, Venom Crest, they are the best team statistically in the league for a reason, tied 5-0 with Broad and Friends.
Yeah.
They've shown that they can shut down games so well and so quickly. It's hard to not call them the favorites.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% the case. And even when we're looking towards Belfast Storm and the teams that they're tied with, right, which are the next teams that we're going to be watching, actually, 200 Bandits and Paragon, they are one of the few teams that has at least shown that promise. Like you said, they just need to figure out who that X factor is for their team. And I guess knowing that Synapse, Dunlosi, and Limsey have all kind of played in the UKEL for quite a while now, maybe we are looking towards Pretexion or Sundax to try and make that happen, make that chemistry come alive, and make the team come into fruition. But we're going to have to wait and see until this game starts, right, to actually see whether they are going to be able to take down Venom Crest, give them their first loss, because that's something that I'm looking forward to the most. You said to suspend our disbelief almost, right? That Venom Crest and Broad and Friends are never going to lose a game until they face each other. I would like to see one of the behemoths topple down a little bit early.
Yeah, I think, Broad and Friends, they tried to lose. They tried really hard to lose, and they didn't. Never punished, I guess. But regardless, I think, there's this, the Battle of the Titans, and, the upset is always something you want to look forward to. It's Wigan, whether it's Wigan winning the FA Cup or, Switzerland knocking out France at the Euros.
Yeah.
You always want to believe in the upset, whilst also having that founded belief of these guys are a bit too good to lose.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, right? We're going to go to a short break, guys. It looks like there's quite a few issues going on behind the scenes, just some crashing and, typical League of Legends stuff. So we're going to get that sorted out, and we'll come back to you guys with the game in just a few minutes. Hello guys, not the site you wanted to see. I know you wanted to see Summoner's Rift, you wanted to see the game. So did we. Looks like we're not going to be able to get into the game this time. Sorry about that. And to everybody who was waiting for this game, again, very sorry, but just too many technical issues in the background. We're not going to be able to catch this game. And sadly for me and Harold, not going to be able to cast this one. But we are going to try and catch the next one. So Belfast Storm versus Venom Crest. You know, maybe next time. But we are going to be here for 200 Bandits versus Paragon in however long. So stay tuned in and follow us along for that one. But yeah, sorry guys, we'll not be streaming this game. See you after a short break.
I thought you were going to.
That's where on the camera, not behind it.
Turns out I wasn't hearable that entire time. Let's start that again because I mean, I did say I'm not technologically minded. I'm taking that as my excuse. Unfortunately, we are going to be ending the stream early tonight thanks to the spectator client bug that is not the first time it's hit us in the last 12 months. And if I had to guess, I would say it likely wouldn't be the last. This thing likes to crop up a lot, and there isn't much we can do about it. We weren't able to get into that first game, and we don't believe we'll be able to get into the following ones with any more luck. So for tonight, we are going to have to call the stream early, much to our dismay, and I'm sure yours as well. We're really looking forward to covering the games tonight. Hopefully, it will be sorted by Monday, or we will have a plan in place to allow us to bring you the games. That being said, if any of the teams or viewers or anything wish to co-stream any of tonight's games, you are more than welcome to. Just drop a ping, either in the UKEL Discord or ping at the UKEL on Twitter, X, and we will share around any co-stream links. You are more than welcome to try and make those work as you please, but we will not be able to stream the games in any official capacity tonight. Once again, we send major apologies from us, and we hope to see you all again in the near future.